If you were Deion'd out after this week of hype and media coverage of Colorado football, there's more of that on the way. If you were sick of fumbles and turnovers and penalties and Nebraska playing like they have in the last few regimes, that doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
In the preseason, I referenced players across the Big Ten, guys like Nick Singleton and Blake Corum and some players on defense like a Johnny Newton. I said, these players are going to be a problem, and that was usually meant to be a compliment. But here's a statement I want to make after this game. Jeff Sims is going to be a problem, and he's going to be a problem for Nebraska and Nebraska's offense and Nebraska's ability to win games, and to be frank with you, Nebraska's ability to keep games close throughout the season. 8 turnovers. 8. 4 against Minnesota, 4 against Colorado. And when we talk about the turnovers against the Buffaloes, it's as simple as catching the snap, folks. It's as simple as catching a shotgun snap, right? It's as simple as calling the snap when a guy comes in motion at the right time. This appears to be simple stuff, and Jeff Sims ain't a freshman quarterback. This is a guy that's experienced. This is a guy that's played Power 5 football and started multiple years of Power 5 football. We shouldn't be at this situation. We shouldn't be seeing these things from a veteran, and yet here we are. Jeff Sims is going to hold back Nebraska as a team. He's going to hold back their success because of his inability to protect the football. They say the ball is the program. Right now, Nebraska's program is headed south, right? They are headed in the wrong direction. And when you look at Matt Rule in his first 2 games as the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, we'll talk about defense, but specifically for offense, this team doesn't look any different. It looks like you can throw in new coaches, new coordinators, and a new attitude, and you can throw in new players, new transfers. It looks the same. Nebraska's still committing penalties. Nebraska's still fumbling the football. They're still turning the football over. You go over to special teams, they're still missing shorter field goals. It's the same thing. Nothing's changed. This is still the Nebraska football that we saw during the Scott Frost era. It's still the Nebraska football that we saw later in the Mike Riley era as well. They're going to continue to have issues. If you continue to see this Nebraska offense when you face off against some of these Big Ten defenses, they're going to struggle in a lot of these Big Ten games if nothing changes. I know they're going to have games against Louisiana Tech and Northern Illinois, chances for them to really build their confidence and maybe gain some momentum. But when you really get into the Big Ten schedule, if this is the status quo, there's some serious questions to be answered right now in Nebraska, and there are some serious concern for the boys in Lincoln, Nebraska. I can't trust Nebraska. I can't. I have trust issues with the Huskers because I gave it a chance. New coach, new scheme, new offense, new players, all that sort of stuff that we talked about there in the first segment. But I can't trust them because I see a lot of the same things. I see a lot of the same things happening that I saw in previous regimes. So I can't trust them. When I'm picking games against the line, against the spread, and just picking games straight up, it's hard for me to trust that Nebraska, when you get to a game, even if it's a close game late in the game, it's hard for me to think that, oh yeah, they're going to protect the ball, they're going to be disciplined, and they're going to go out and win a football game. I've seen a lot of the same issues through 2 games at Minnesota, a game they should have won, leading by 7, late in the game, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to go, and a fumble and an interception cost them a shot. And this game against Colorado, their defense, and I'll talk about defense, but their defense was so freaking good. So good. Like, for an all intents and purposes, I know Colorado got a field goal, but they shut them out. They shut Colorado out in that first half, and they played lights out, that defense did. But it's this offense that's going to continue to hold them back, and it's the offense that continues to have the issues that we saw in the last few years, handful of years that we've seen at the University of Nebraska. So I got trust issues, right? Nebraska hitched their wagon to Jeff Sims. They hitched their wagon to him, and they said, this is our guy, Casey Thompson, thanks, but no thanks. And then he goes out to join his old buddy Tom Herman down in sunny South Florida. And now the wheels of that wagon appear to be falling off. Okay, what, did they make the wrong decision right now through a couple of games? Well, it doesn't appear that they made the overwhelmingly correct decision. I'll certainly say that, because we saw Casey Thompson able to sling the football down the field at times last season when he was healthy. So that is still going to play out. We'll see how things go, but this offense certainly seems limited in Lincoln, Nebraska. No question about that. Let's talk about the Nebraska defense. Let's maybe talk about some positive things now. Man, these guys are killers. They looked really, really good. They attacked Colorado. They were flowing to the football, and they were tackling in space. I said it in my preview. They needed to wrap up in space. If these Colorado skill players got out on the perimeter, 5 yards, 7 yards of separation, they're going to make plays in big chunks. And in this first half, they were able to make those plays, and Nebraska was able to do a really good job schematically confusing Colorado and holding them to limited yards throughout the first half of this football game. But the dam eventually broke, okay? Because Nebraska's defense was out on the field for so long, especially when you got into that second half. And the offense was so ineffective. It's a lot like Iowa last season, right? That putrid offense of the Hawkeyes and that great defense, though, that Phil Parker had for Iowa last season. It brought me back to 2022 and maybe a little bit of 2021 Iowa as well. You've got a really good defense, but you got an offense that leaves the defense on the field for so long, and they're tired, they're gassed, and when you have a team like Colorado, eventually the Buffaloes were going to open this one wide open, and that's exactly what happened. I thought Nebraska covered really well early in this game, considering that the weapons that they had on the outside. I thought that was one thing. That's, as the week went on after my preview, that's kind of one concern that I had. I'm like, well, you got really good, fast players out on the perimeter. How are they going to be able to cover all of these guys that Colorado has? And they did a really good job throughout this game. Definitely the first half, but I said the dam broke in the second half. But I thought Nebraska did a really good job in coverage, and maybe it's this defense and it's this secondary and this coverage team that maybe is going to keep Nebraska in a lot of games throughout this season. But man, that Nebraska defense, Tony White has done a great job. When you talk about turning the corner, things that have definitely improved, it's the Nebraska defense. You can see through 2 games how much progress and how much of a jump up they've made. Like, who would have thought at this point in the season, who would have thought 3 weeks ago we'd be saying, yeah, Nebraska definitely looks like a better defense than Illinois. Man, I would have said, you're crazy. But here we are after a couple of games, and that's the way it looks like the direction things are going. I want to talk about Colorado here to wrap up this reaction. Deion Sanders, what he's done, unprecedented, right, in the offseason coming into this season. And now these 2 games against Power 5 opponents against TCU, although TCU doesn't look to be like a great team, you go and you stick with it. It wasn't really clicking at first, but you stuck with it, and eventually you opened it up, and you did what you did against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is going to open up college football. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are to turn around a team quickly. They're going to look to do what Deion did. But here's the thing about Deion Sanders, is what makes him such a good coach. He surrounds himself with great people. He relates to kids really well. He recruits at an extremely high level. People want to come play for Deion Sanders, and the culture, flipping a culture that has been so bad for so long, like Colorado, for the last handful, maybe decade, something like that. Colorado has been known as maybe one of, if not the worst Power 5 team in the entire country. And now you got Deion Sanders, you got the turnover throne, you got all these things and all the momentum, and everybody's talking. You got Michael Irvin on the sidelines. You can understand the draw that Colorado is for young kids. You can understand why kids that want to come out to Colorado. Oh, and then you throw in the great scenery, the great Rocky Mountains, and everything that goes along with playing football at Colorado. Look, they've got some tougher Pac-12 tests on their schedule throughout the season, and we'll see how things go. I was very impressed with Shedeur Sanders in this game. Kind of rattled a little bit early on, but as the second half kind of went on and as the Nebraska defense continued to wear down, you really saw just how good of a quarterback he is. I think where Shedeur really excels is just the distributed to multiple guys. I don't know if there's one really big playmaker on this Colorado team right now, and he knows he can throw it to Jimmy Horn, he can throw it to Xavier Weaver, he can throw it to Travis Hunter, Dylan Edwards, he can throw it to a lot of these guys, and they're all going to make plays. I think that's where really Shedeur and this Colorado offense is humming at times. Everybody, there's a lot of weapons, certainly on the outside, and he was calm, he was cool, and he was collected. Didn't turn the football over. How key was that when you had Jeff Sims literally fumbling shotgun snaps on the other side of the football? This is a good Colorado team. It appears to be just the start for things in Buffalo Nation, and we'll see how things progress when they maybe face more difficult tests like an Oregon, like a USC, like a Utah, I think are all on their schedule for the Buffaloes this season. I want to hear what you guys think in this one. What do you think about Nebraska? Where is their trajectory now, right? They have a couple of easier games before they get into the thick of the Big Ten slate. Where do they go from here? I want to hear all your thoughts on all things Nebraska, Colorado. Leave them in the comments below. I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.